The Panic of 1893 is considered to be the worst industrial depression of the 19th century. Andrew Carnegie called it the luckless years. President Grover Cleveland called it a disastrous financial cyclone. Businesses and farms were abandoned, unemployment rose to monumental digits, and railroads closed due to bankruptcy. Society was set into a panic. What could have possibly caused this economic crisis? The simple answer is that the 1970s and 80s were a bit too successful and companies became a bit too optimistic about continued growth in the future. During this time, the U.S. economy had expanded more than ever before with the help of new industries like railroad, steel, and oil. New technological innovations put America ahead of most of the other competitors in the world in terms of advances. This all came with a price, however. Railroads were overbuilt, businesses borrowed money for expansion, and farmers suffered from debt and land of little value. The mining bonanza in America caused the silver production to quadruple, lowering the value of silver. Some believed that the silver should still be used to back money, while others favored the rarer gold. The Sherman Silver Purchase Act was a compromise, requiring the Treasury to purchase 4.5 million ounces of silver a month and issue notes that would be redeemable in either gold or silver. As silver decreased in price, most people redeemed their notes for gold. In February 1893, thousands of investors of the Philadelphia and Reading Railroad took out their shares due to a panic in the New York stock market, totaling over 1 million shares and causing the company to go bankrupt. The fall of this railroad company caused investors in other similar industries to dump their shares as well, setting off a chain reaction of all investors sharing their stocks to obtain gold. The gold supply was quickly depleted and dipped below $100 million on April 22nd, an event that hadn't occurred in almost 2 decades. The stock market crashed, banks failed, and many large businesses went bankrupt, including the National Cordage Company, one of the largest employers in the country. This had an enormous effect on the U.S. Over 15,000 companies and 500 banks failed total, putting close to 20% of the labor force in unemployment. With the unemployment came an increase in homelessness, and the unemployed began to starve. Farmers in the West were especially affected due to further complications from a heat wave and drought that caused crop failure. The prices of crops dropped, and cotton sold for just 5 cents a pound. The farmers and the unemployed banded together to try to get change. In 1894, 500,000 workers were involved in 1,400 strikes. Jacob Coxey hoped to lead change in the U.S. by getting Congress to pass the Coxey-Good Roads Bill. This bill stated that $500 million would be printed to build roads, ideally putting all of the unemployed in America in construction. He and 300 of his followers marched to Washington. When they got to Washington, Cleveland had the band arrested for trespassing on the Capitol's grounds, and Coxey was sentenced to 20 days in jail. In other parts of the country, the employed tried to bring about change through strikes. The Pullman strike resulted from the Pullman Palace Car Company cutting wages, increasing rents, and laying off many employees. With the support of the American Railway Union, who refused to operate trains with Pullman sleeping cars, employees struck. Over 27 states were affected due to the strike because coal, grain, and livestock could not be shipped. President Cleveland responded by sending troops to Chicago to take over the railroads and restore order, ending the strike. Despite small interventions by President Cleveland, he tried to keep out of the Panic of 1893, for he believed it was a natural part of the business cycle. However, he blamed the Sherman Silver Purchase Act for causing the panic and proceeded to repeal it. The debate over money is discussed more in the following video.
Eastern industrialists insisted on gold, the supply of which they controlled. In opposition, farmers, Westerners, and a grassroots party known as the Populists supported bimetallism, a currency system which allowed silver and gold. The monetary debate was the central political issue of the 1890s, representative of a deeper war over opposing beliefs on public policy, finance, and the equitable distribution of wealth.
By the end of 1894, the situation improved, the economy began to stabilize itself once again, and America came out of the Depression. Investors regained faith in the stock market and once again put their money into investing. The Panic of 1893 was certainly a low point in American history, but it had lasting effects politically and socially. The term populism refers to the beliefs of the People's Party, a political party that was organized in 1892 by members of the Farmers' Alliance that worked to protect the farmers. The free coinage of silver quickly became their main concern, as backing money with silver would cause crop prices to rise. The Populists gained supporters as industrialists failed during the Panic of 1893, and many began to question the effectiveness of the gold standard. Thus, the Panic of 1893 is essentially where the Populist Party grew and became recognized as a political power, gaining representatives, senators, and state legislatures, even running Jennings Bryan as a candidate for president in the election of 1896. The term populism still comes up today in political debates and is generally referring to the good of the common person.